Hello, today I'm going to be teaching you how to install and run Spybot Search and Destroy. So I'm just going to download it right now, and that way I can show you. So I'm just going to go to safernetwork.org, just Google search Spybot. Um, that'll get us there. Whoops. It'll still work, it's the same thing. So you basically just click through their website. Sorry, I'll go a little bit slower for you. Your best bet is to go to English United States. There's no English Canada. There's a French Canada, but no English Canada. And just go down the list until you see download on the left hand side, and just go down and click the download next to the very top one. So you're just going to do that, and it really doesn't matter which one you download from in here. I just usually find one of the top ones are usually the best way to do it. So it's going to take you to a whole nother site, and all you got to do is just click download now. I just use the top one, download now, and right now I just need to click here to download. So I'm going to do that, and then it will start downloading. I'm just going to run that. It's going to download. Look at my awesome internet connection speed. I love it. But once it's done, it's going to ask me for authorization. I'm just going to say run. And this is how you set up Spybot Search and Destroy. So next. I agree, next. All those are fine. If you don't have an internet connection, you'll want to disable that. But we do, so I'm just going to click next. Always uncheck T-Timer. I don't like T-Timer. Not many people do. It's annoying. If you have a good antivirus, it doesn't matter anyway. So always disable T-Timer. It's just a pain in the butt. Just hit next, install. It's going to download the updates from their server, okay, and it's going to put it on your computer, and then it's going to install. Now this is downloading a little bit slow, so I'm going to pause it, and I'll be right back once it finishes. Alright, so we're just about finishing here. It took forever. I guess their servers are pretty swamped. But anyway, once it finishes updating, it'll actually complete the install for us here in a second. Just waiting on it. There we go. So this is actually just doing the install as we speak. If you're updating it from an older version, it may ask you something, just retry, and it should succeed, just only if you're updating and you get messages popping up in that. So I'm going to run Spybot, and generally it does take a little while to actually start up, so give it some time. Spybot is a little bit slower to load than some other software, but it's not too bad. It's usually fairly quick. So once it finishes loading here, alright, so you'll see this whenever it first pops up. Just do not show the message again, just in case. And just this is the first time you run it, you'll see this, just next. The only one I suggest is doing search for updates. It does everything automatically for you, which is a little bit easier. I always seem to choose the German sites. Fast speed test isn't bad for the American site. Put a check mark in everything, download, and it'll actually download again. It'll just go through and finish all the downloads. And I'll pause it, and I'll be back whenever it finishes. Alright, so it just finished, and it's actually loading. It shut it down and it opened it up again. It's just on its way to opening. I'm just going to say okay. We should reapply immunization. I don't usually suggest anybody do immunization, especially if you're using Internet Explorer. The Internet Explorer 8 largely slows down when you do immunization. So if you find your computer or your Internet Explorer is really slow, it's Internet Explorer 8, and you have Spybot on your system, revert the immunizations completely, because they will definitely slow down your system. It just adds in a whole bunch of security. These are the sites you basically don't want to visit, and it adds that to the Internet Explorer list. Problem is there's about 65,000 of them, so it slows it down because it looks through them every time you go to a site. So anyway, this is kind of stuck here. I'm just going to pause it, and I'll be back whenever it finishes. Actually, there it is. So just do not show, okay, and this is the main site. I always just suggest just making sure it's up to date, which it always is. And the only thing that you got to do to search for problems is just hit check for problems. And this will actually do a check for problems. I usually hide that, just advertisement. And whenever it's done, you'll see something along the lines of what this will show. It'll just basically show a little bit of a difference on this, but the idea of it is to remove anything that it does fine. So you'll have a whole bunch of items in here, and you got to make sure that they're all checked, okay, that they all have check marks in it. By default, they do. And you just come up here and you hit Fix Selected Problems, okay? Whenever you click that, you get a whole bunch of check marks in there. If anything doesn't remove, it'll pop up and say that it needs to reboot. Go ahead and do that, and it'll remove it on a reboot. It'll run a scan as well on reboot. The immunization here, like I said, do not use this. Do not click immunize. Click undo if there's anything under protected. You want to see 0 down there. I don't want to see people using that unless, well, honestly, even if they're using Mozilla Firefox, it does generally help with the Firefox, but I don't generally suggest using it anyway. But anyway, that's the most of it. If you want to get a little bit touchy, you can go into the advanced mode, and it gives you a couple other things like settings, and you can kind of tweak it a little bit, but I don't usually suggest this for the average user. It's not something you really need to get into, but there's some neat little tools in here that you can do, so that it basically stops other things from doing stuff. Make sure you don't use T-Timer in the resident shield. It's just not a good idea. Secure shredder, you can put files in here and it'll delete them. Sometimes it'll do it on a reboot, but it's great for little tiny things like that if you want. WinSock is pretty nice that you can see all that stuff. Sometimes you don't have internet. It could be a WinSock issue, but it's not very common, so don't go into your WinSock. Don't remove it unless you know what you're doing with that stuff. Like I said, only for technicians. By default, you should always be in the default mode. It's better to be safe than sorry. If you remove something that you want to put back, it'll be in the recovery. You just click on whatever it is in here and just say recover, and it'll recover anything that it might have removed. But anyway, that's the gist of how to use Spybot, search and destroy. And if you want to use that, I definitely support it. I still suggest Malwarebytes anti-malware instead of Spybot, but Spybot is a great product, and I'd never want to see anybody uninstall it if they've already got it. It's a great product. It's great in emergencies. Sometimes picks up stuff that Malwarebytes doesn't, but generally Malwarebytes is better. But anyway, that concludes my tutorial on Spybot Search and Destroy. Signing off.